Hey, sports fans, you know the sound, you know the time. It's time for another episode of the Unbiased podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Unbiased, Connor Bennion. Today is November 29th, 2022, episode 15 coming at you, and it should come as no surprise. Wearing my USA pride, we are going to start around the globe World Cup 2022 in Qatar. It doesn't get more simple than the final group match between United States and Iran. It goes like this. Win, you're in to the knockout stage. Tie or loss, the US is eliminated. It's as simple as that. That is as simple as it gets. Now, again, to kind of get my plug in, check out the link in the description below for my other podcast, The Babbling Bennion. That's where I'll really break down the United States performance after they play Iran. I'll make a video and post it today after their match against Iran. But other than that, that's really all I'm going to cover. Just saying that the game's going to happen in the way of hopefully this is an unbiased view. I think the United States is going to come out victorious. I like that the way they come off of a 0-0 draw on Friday against England. And I mean, England's the 5th ranked team in the FIFA rankings. They're a very talented, really great roster. They made it all the way to the semifinals last World Cup in 2018 in Russia. And I mean, this is a very talented squad, and this was a young, again, second youngest roster in the World Cup from the USA. And they really not only held their own against England, but they really also were able to dictate most of the tempo, I felt. And they really had that enforcer's edge. They had some great opportunities. Again, a 0-0 draw against the 5th best team in the world, in which I felt you controlled the tempo and you had the better opportunities. You know, I can't take too much away from it. So I think the U.S. is going to come out victorious today, knock on wood, against Iran and advance to the knockout stage, something obviously that didn't happen in 2018 because we didn't qualify for the World Cup, but did happen in 2014, and really looking forward to it. I'm just going to put it out there super quick. You know, the other thing that's so important about this match against Iran is obviously not only is it literally win or go home, but I mean, just looking at the way the bracket is forming, should the United States place second as the runner-up, meaning England beats Wales, or even if they draw but have the better goal differential than the United States. No, that's not even true. Sorry, I'm doing the math because they beat Iran, so they had 3 points. They drew against the United States. If England were to lose, and the United States were to win, both teams would have 4 points, but I would think that England would have the better goal differential. So, I mean, it's more than likely that the United States are going to be the runner-up should they beat Iran. I think they'll be the runner-up in the group, which is not the worst thing because they are slated as the runner-up of Group B to play I believe it's the winner of Group A, which is either going to be the Netherlands or Ecuador. I believe Ecuador plays Senegal. Netherlands plays Qatar, the host, so there's a really good opportunity and possibility that the Netherlands is going to win that group, because I think Ecuador is going to beat Senegal, and I think Netherlands is going to beat Qatar, and I think with the goal difference, I think it's going to benefit Netherlands. But there's a real possibility that Ecuador wins Group A, and that would put the U.S. against Ecuador in their first, in the round of 16, in the knockout stage. And, I think that's a really, really great opportunity, and I think that's a game that the United States could win. So I look at their path and I say it obviously starts with beating Iran later today, 12 p.m. noon Mountain Standard Time for us here in Perry, where I'm filming this. Obviously, again, it's win or go home. So go USA. Again, 2 draws in their first 2 matches, looking to really hammer it down. I'm going to put out there super quick the key to winning this game. I was talking about this earlier to a friend of mine. Is you got to remember the United States has to win this match. They cannot tie or they will be eliminated. With that being said, that means you push and you push and you push and you strike and you strike and you strike and you attack and you attack and you attack. And if you get a 1-goal lead, if you go up 1-0, that's when you can maybe kind of settle back a little bit, maybe put some more pressure on the back line, just in the way of, not forcing this game into a point where the U.S. is 1-1 at one point. Or if they were down, they would have a very large mountain to climb, because again, if they were down 1-0, they would need a goal to tie and a goal after that to take the lead. Again, a tie, you're out of the World Cup. It has to be a win. And because it has to be a win, you have to score first. That has to happen. The United States must score first. And in my opinion, they must score early. I am looking forward to seeing what happens, because again, I think I said this earlier, and maybe it was just on the Babbling Bennion I brought this up. I feel like the United States kind of lacks a super strong finisher. I think they have great playmakers. I think Tim Way, who had the USA goal against Wales, I look at him and I think he's a great goal scorer. I think Christian Pulisic is an amazing player. I think Weston McKennie is a great player, but I just don't know if they're finishers. So hoping to see an early goal from the United States, take command, take control, and then from there, keep the pedal to the metal. We kind of saw that against Wales. They kind of pulled back in the second half, and what ended up happening, 85th minute, penalty kick given, game ends in a draw, which is so important, because again, if the United States holds on and beats Wales, they're looking at an opportunity where later today, at noon, the United States, had they beaten Wales, could go for the draw and advance out of the group, because Iran's goal differential is so negative. So, I just look at the fact that they need to attack, they need to score early, and from there, keep pushing. If all of a sudden you hit it, if all of a sudden the U.S. is up 2-0, you want to keep going, obviously, but additionally, you allow a goal, you know what? It's not the end of the world, because it's 2-1, you're still winning, you still have the lead, you still need a win, and you move on. Draw or tie, and they are eliminated. Sorry that I kind of kept going around, but I am so pumped. I'm so excited for this United States men's national team. I almost said Team USA. United States men's national team game against Iran, Group B, final match of the group stage. They play at the exact same time as Wales and England, so both teams will obviously be getting information about each other's games. But again, ultimately, USA wants to win, and you want to win by as much as you can, because you're still at the position where you could win the group should Wales beat England. So that should Wales beat England, or should Wales and England tie, because that would give England two draws and a win. United States, if they beat Iran, 2 draws and a win, goes down to goal differential. Anyway, that is all that we'll cover for the World Cup. The NBA is where we'll hit next. And, right now we're looking at a Jazz team who currently is in the middle of a 5-game slump. They've dropped 5 games in a row. We talked about the first game. It was against the Clippers last show. Since we met, they lost to Detroit at home on Wednesday. And the final of that game, sorry, let me pull that up super quick. The final score to that game was 125-116. Then Friday night, they were at Golden State. They dropped that game 129-118. Saturday night at Phoenix, a devastating 113-112 loss. Realistically, here's what's crazy. Phoenix and Utah have played twice this season. Both teams have had a home game. Both home teams have won by 1 point. 2 points have separated these two teams in the 2 games they've played. So a great matchup. And then yesterday versus Chicago, they dropped that game 114-107. Chicago had a really strong third quarter, and that really hurt the Jazz. So I look at the Jazz, and just very simply, because I don't want to spend too much time, again, I did learn last week it is possible to really wrap these shows Keep them going. I hope that you enjoy watching them, and I hope if you enjoy Unbiased, again, this is just kind of me glancing over, my thoughts, my predictions. But if you want more in-depth analysis, and again, a biased view, then check out, again, the Babbling Bennion. The description is in the link below. But I appreciate the support. I hope everyone, by the way, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in. And again, I just hope that as I try to kind of condense these videos, because I get that everyone's super busy, I hope that you don't feel short. I hope you still enjoy tuning into the show. So really, that's all I'm going to talk about the Jazz. I think something, obviously, that's super important is Mike Conley's been out. He, I believe he re-aggravated his hamstring. And so, you can see the role he plays, and it's a major role, and you can see the Jazz are missing him. But I think, again, this has to be expected with every team. Every team's going to lose. Maybe not 5 in a row. Maybe that's not fair to say that every team should expect this. But, it's so early in the season also that Utah is in a great position. Right now, they're the 8th seed, but they're only 2.5 games back from the number 1 seed, which is Phoenix. And I also I wanted to bring up, and again, this is unfortunately kind of a biased view, but I look at the Western Conference and I say right now, the 1 seed is Phoenix, 2 is Denver, 3 is New Orleans, 4 is Memphis, 5 is the LA Clippers, 6 is Portland, 7 is Sacramento, 8 is Golden State, 9 is Utah, 10 is Minnesota. So I look at it, and from the Jazz's perspective, I'm not banking on Sacramento. At the end of the season, I think that the Jazz will have a better record than New Orleans. I think they'll have a better record than Sacramento. I think they'll have a better record than Portland. My thing with Portland, bless their souls, and I don't know why I said that actually. My thing about Portland is Damian Lillard's a great, great player, and I think this is a really, I don't want to say a really good Portland team, because I think they're decent, but I think that the Jazz will have a better record. Denver's going to be hard to catch, I think, with Jamal Murray coming back in, and the Nuggets kind of re-establishing where they would like to be and where they'd like to go. I think that'll be really interesting to see how they go. Again, I think New Orleans, I said, I could see the Jazz having a better record than Memphis. The Clippers are going to be tough again in the way of they just have so much star power. It's hard to say. Again, you got to remember, in their first year together, the Clippers were the 2 seed. They were a really good basketball team, and they still have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And then Golden State, they're such a wild card. It's hard to say with them. But, just what it comes down to ultimately is I think there's no reason to panic. It's just going to be one of those stretches. You have to expect that you're going to drop games. Unfortunately for the Jazz, it's been 5 in a row, which kind of sucks. But that's all we're going to review on the NBA. So we've covered the World Cup. Go USA. We've covered the NBA. Let's hit the college football scene. Let me get you my record overall. And again, not that anybody is really keeping track. But again, I did accidentally forget one college game and my record was a little off. So my record after this week overall is 158 wins, 104 losses. And I believe it was my NCAA record that was affected, not my NFL record. My overall was affected in my NCAA, but not my NFL. My NCAA record is 54-28. I had a pretty decent week, I feel, is what I would say. I went 5-3. To review those games, BYU is at Stanford. They ended up winning this game 35-26. It was a lot closer than I would have liked, just in the way of, I believe at one point BYU was up 35. I'm trying to remember what they were up. I think they were up 35-13 or something at one point. BYU really had this game in hand. And then they just allowed a couple late touchdowns. But BYU victorious. Jaren Hall does leave with an ankle injury, I believe is what it was. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in their bowl game. So BYU is victorious. We'll see what happens. They finish the regular season with 7 wins. So, a really, really interesting season, coming off of a season where they went 10-3 with their bowl game loss, with losses at home to Boise State, who they've always struggled with, and at Baylor, who ended up being the Big 12 champion and the Sugar Bowl champion, and then their bowl game against UAB, which I don't really want to talk about. So BYU, their regular season is over. They're going bowling. A team that's definitely going bowling, the number 14 Utah Utes. They were at Colorado, and they obliterated the Buffaloes 63-21 the final. Utah, due to just, and I'm not going to call it luck because I need to give Utah the respect that they deserve because they had a great season. Utah, after a list of tiebreakers, has a berth in the Pac-12 championship against USC. That is, I believe, this Friday, and we'll review that in a second. But just for this game, Utah at Colorado, I had Utah winning, and they obliterated Buffalo. By the way, I also had BYU winning in case I didn't make that mention. So 2 games correct so far. Utah State was at Boise State. I had Boise State winning, and they did end up winning this game 42-23. It was kind of an interesting game because Boise State was up big at one point, then it had shrunk, and then they ended up winning big in the end. Again, I had Boise State winning this game, so I was correct on that game. And then Weber State versus North Dakota. Weber State, this was a playoff game, and so they win and will advance. We'll talk about, obviously, their next game after we talk about the games that we reviewed, but congratulations to Weber State. I was correct there. So I was 4-0 with the teams of Utah. Outside of Utah, I was not so lucky. Number 19, Tulane, was at number 21, Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati winning this game, and Tulane was victorious 27-24. Number 10, Oregon, was at number 22, Oregon State. Utah had to have Oregon lose this game, and the Beavers came in clutch. I had Oregon winning this game, but the Oregon State Beavers upset the Oregon Ducks in Corvallis, Oregon. They win this game 38-34. I was wrong there. Notre Dame was at USC, and by the way, sorry, that was number 13 Notre Dame at number 5 USC. I apologize. I don't think I got the rankings in. Sorry. Number 19 Tulane was at number 21 Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati, Tulane won. Number 10, Oregon, was at number 22, Oregon State. I had Oregon winning, but Oregon State won. Number 13, Notre Dame, was at number 5, USC. This was a heavyweight battle, wildly entertaining in the Coliseum. I'd like to think and say that Lincoln Riley has brought USC back to their prominence. This team ends up beating Notre Dame 30-27. I had USC winning this game. Caleb Williams, the transfer from Oregon, came over with Lincoln Riley. He has found his groove. This USC team is looking good. We'll review them because they're going to face Utah in the Pac-12 championship game on Friday. So I was correct there. And then the game. Number 3, Michigan, at number 2, Ohio State. This practically is for a ticket to the college football playoff because, all due respect to Purdue, who we'll talk about in a second because they play Michigan in the Big Ten championship game, I would take Michigan or Ohio State over Purdue. The winner of this game, I think, knew that they would be going to the college football playoff, and it was Michigan. And they were not only victorious, but they were victorious 45-23. They shut down CJ Stroud. They quieted the Ohio State crowd. That game was in Ohio State, and Michigan looked like they were at home. They win this game 45-23. I had Ohio State winning, Michigan victorious. Congratulations to them. Amazing season. And with a win over Purdue, they're headed to the college football playoff. So those are the games that I reviewed. Again, I went 5-3. I was correct on BYU, Utah State, Boise State, Weber State. I was in and USC. I was incorrect on Cincinnati, Oregon, and Ohio State. Plenty of upsets once again. A couple of them we've already reviewed. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 3, Michigan. Michigan ended up winning that game 45-23. Number 6, LSU. The wheels on the bus fell off. They drop their regular season finale at Texas A&M 38-23. Number 7, Clemson. They were right knocking on that door of possibly busting the college football playoff party should losses go their way. Unfortunately, a loss did not go their way, and it was their own. They fell at home to South Carolina, 31-30. Their SEC non-conference rival. They are both in the same state of South Carolina, and the Gamecocks win their second top 10 game in back-to-back weeks. Number 10, Oregon at number 22, Oregon State. Again, that was the upset. Oregon State won that game. Number 18, North Carolina lost to their rival, North Carolina State, 30-27 in double overtime. And then on Thanksgiving night, number 20, Ole Miss fell at home to Mississippi State. Mississippi State ends up winning that game 24-22. So some major upsets. And again, that is the beauty of college football. Upset galore, and we are in for a treat. It is conference championship weekend. Before I get there, I did want to pull up, I apologize, I forgot to look and see who Weber State was playing in their next round of the playoffs. So let me pull up Weber State's upcoming game. Yes. They play at Montana State on Saturday at 1 p.m. Weber State's 10-2. Montana State is 10-1. One of those losses from Weber State came at the hands of Montana State. The crazy part of that, if I remember correctly, was that loss at Montana State was 43-38. And in that game, I believe it was that the Wildcats had 3 separate safeties, and they were all on botched punts, bad snaps, or I didn't watch the game, but I do remember reading that it was I believe it was 3 safeties, and again, they ended up losing by 5 points, so that was practically different. So we'll see if the Wildcats get their revenge on Montana State. My prediction, unfortunately, I feel like a great season is going to come to an end. I just think in the playoffs, to go and play on their field, I've got to pick Montana State here, but I'm definitely pulling for the Wildcats. Hopefully they pick up the win, but I'm going to have to go with Montana State in that FCS playoffs. Win, continue on. Lose, you head home. So best of luck to the Wildcats. They play Saturday. Now time for the conference championship weekend. And those are the only games I'm going to cover. And I'm not going to cover all of them, just ones that have ranked implications, which as I look at these, and I'll make the connections in a second, but for the Pac-12, number 14, Utah, number 6, USC, in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Utah, second straight appearance in the Pac-12 championship game. And trying to avoid the biased vote, I've got to pick USC. And I've got to pick USC for the purpose that they went to Rice-Eccles Stadium and saw a 2-point conversion be converted in the final minute of the game that that put Utah ahead and ended up being the final score, 43-42, I believe is what it was. Utah over USC. That's USC's only conference loss. I think it's going to be a wildly entertaining game. I like the matchup again, but I think since that loss, I just feel like Caleb Williams and USC have gotten better. Not necessarily that Utah's gotten worse. I just think that this is USC's game, and I think it's their game because if they win, they're going to have a very, very compelling argument of why they should be in the college football playoff. I'm going to review these games, and then I'll touch on the college football playoff to end the NCAA football section. But I'm going to pick USC. I'd love to see Utah get the win and go back to the Rose Bowl for a second straight year, which they may do anyway. That's something to talk about as well. But I've got to pick USC. Number 1, Georgia, and number 11, LSU in the SEC championship game. I've got Georgia winning this game. Not that I think that they'll win it in blowout fashion, but I got them winning pretty comfortably. So I've got Georgia over LSU in the SEC championship game. Number 3, Michigan faces Purdue in the Big Ten championship game. What's crazy is Purdue is one of 3 teams that I'm going to read off in all of these conference championship matchups that are not ranked. So I thought that was pretty crazy. I've got to pick Michigan. I've got to pick Michigan. And I think could possibly be a blowout. I think they're going to win pretty handily. So I've got number 3, Michigan winning over Purdue for the Big Ten championship game. For the second straight year, Michigan wins the Big Ten. Very impressive. Big 12, number 4, TCU versus number 4, TCU versus number 12, Kansas State. I believe this is in Cowboy Stadium. I've got the Kansas State Wildcats pulling off the upset. And that kind of goes in relation to what I just mentioned of where I think USC is going to slip into the college football playoff because I think TCU is going to lose this game. Not so much. They definitely were not, definitely didn't give me any reason to vote against them against Iowa State, but I think against Baylor, TCU showed that they can be beaten. They definitely can be beaten, and I think Kansas State's going to have a great opportunity. These two teams have already met this season, and TCU was victorious. They're undefeated, obviously, but I think with one game, winning you're in, I just think Kansas State's coming to spoil, and I've got Kansas State beating TCU in the Big 12 championship game. Again, I believe in Cowboys Stadium. Number 10, Clemson versus number 24, North Carolina. I've got Clemson winning this game. 2 losses on their resume. Still at a number 10 ranking, they could definitely make a New Year's Six Day Bowl game without question. Actually, should they win, they will because they'll be the ACC champion and get the ACC tie-in. In the AAC, the number 19 ranked Tulane versus number 22 UCF. I've got UCF winning this game. I like Gus Malzahn and the way that he's got this Central Florida program pumping. Again, they've had recent success, and I like them over Tulane. I'm going to do the Mountain West Conference Championship because Utah State is in there. The Mountain West Conference Championship is Boise State versus Fresno State. That game is in Boise. In the Mountain West Conference, if you are the higher seed, if you will, or the team with the best record hosts the conference championship game, and I like Boise defending their home turf, the Smurf turf, and I like them winning the Mountain West Conference Championship. Now, super quick because I want to keep going and keep our pace rolling. So the college football playoff. I think Georgia, this is just me personally, and this is kind of, I guess I should probably, it's part of my question, so I will answer, and then I'll go back to Connor's question. Well, I'll go to Connor's question later. I think Georgia's going to be 1. I think they're going to beat LSU. I think they'll be 1. Michigan will be 2. I think they'll beat Purdue and be 2. And that's where it kind of gets a little tricky. Again, I think TCU, that's what I noted. I thought something was off. I did say that number 3 Michigan was playing Purdue. It's number 2 Michigan, and I got to backtrack and go back to my top 25 rankings. Super quick top 25 rankings. 1 is Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 TCU, 4 USC, 5 Ohio State, 6 Alabama, 7 Tennessee, 8 Penn State, 9 Washington, 10 Clemson, 11 LSU, 12 Utah, 13 Kansas State, 14 Florida State, 15 Oregon, 16 Oregon State, 17 UCLA, 18 Tulane, 19 Notre Dame, 20 South Carolina, 21 Texas, 22 UCF, 23 UTSA, that's University of Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners. Congratulations to them. I think this is their first ever top 25 ranking. 24 North Carolina, and 25 Mississippi State. Now that we got that out of the way, number 2 Michigan. I think they'll beat Purdue, and they'll be the number 2 seed in the college football playoff. Again, I think TCU is going to lose, eliminating them from college football playoff contention. I think USC is going to win, so I believe they'll get the 3rd spot. And then the 4th spot's going to be so fascinating because look at these rankings. Right now, Ohio State is 5. Their only loss is to Michigan, who's probably going to be the number 2 seed. So I believe that TCU is going to lose, USC is going to win, USC will be the 3rd seed, and I think Ohio State is still going to get into the college football playoff. They're going to be the 4, and what's brutal is that leaves Alabama as the 5th spot, first out of the college football playoff. It'll be the first time in college football playoff history that Alabama or Clemson has not appeared in the college football playoff. So absolutely wild things are happening this season. I do think it's interesting that I love Alabama. So I'm just going to put this out there. This is a completely biased view, but I'm not forcing on you. I'm just saying what I think is interesting is with these rankings, if TCU were to lose and USC were to lose, I would not be surprised if Ohio State got in as the 3 and Alabama got in as the 4. Tennessee, would be the next, but I get that they beat Alabama, but with the way that they got shellacked by South Carolina, I don't see it. And then Penn State, Washington, Clemson, those are your 8, 9, and 10. Just wild to put it out there, just super quick, that my playoff predictions are 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 USC, 4 Ohio State, which I believe would put either Purdue or I would think Penn State in the Rose Bowl against either Utah or Washington. I'm not sure how that plays out in the way of Utah. If they were to lose to USC, they would be the conference runner-up. And because USC would be going to the college football playoff, is Utah headed to the Rose Bowl, win or lose? I'm not sure if that's the case because it may be Washington that gets the invite. Because there was no, obviously the Pac-12 winner got the college football playoff. Anyway, fun things to talk about. I'll probably do a Babbling Bennion on the college football playoff. Maybe not this week, but probably after the conference championship games. I actually can't remember off the top of my head when the selection show is, so there's plenty to talk about with college football. I apologize, I've taken so much time on this. Those are your top 25 rankings. Those are your conference championship games. Just to review them super quick again, I've got USC beating Utah, Georgia beating LSU, Michigan beating Purdue, Kansas State beating TCU, Clemson beating UNC, UCF beating Tulane, and Boise State beating Fresno State. That is all for our NCAA portion. We'll move on to the king, the NFL. And my record, I did surpass 100 wins. Not that I'll keep track of this in any way, shape, or form, but obviously I think we're going into week 13. So after week 12, I have over 100 wins. So I guess we'll see if next season, if I actually remember, if I can get to 100 wins quicker than week 12. But again, 104-76 is my NFL record. I had a pretty good week in the NFL. I ended up going 10-6. Thursday football, Thanksgiving. Obviously you could cram your face with turkey. We got a feast of food, but we got a feast of football, and it was delicious. Bills at Lions. Josh Allen comes up clutch, puts the Bills in field goal range to win the game 28-25. I had the Bills winning that game. I was correct there. Giants at the Cowboys, a huge NFC East matchup, and the Cowboys are victorious 28-20. Patriots at the Vikings. I had the Cowboys, by the way. Patriots at the Vikings. I had the Vikings, and they end up winning 33-26. Primetime Kirk Cousins coming in clutch. Buccaneers at Browns. I had the Bucs, and the Browns ended up winning this game in overtime 23-17. Bengals at Titans. I had the Titans. Bengals were victorious 20-16. Texans at Dolphins. I had the Dolphins, and they were victorious 30-15. Bears at Jets. Jets bench Zach Wilson. They go for Mike White. He drops some dimes. Jets win big 31-10. Falcons at Commanders. I had the Commanders, and they were victorious 19-13. Broncos were at the Panthers. I had the Broncos winning this game, and they did not show up. They forgot to show up. 23-10, the Panthers win this game. I was wrong there. Ravens at the Jaguars. It's common day analytics. Jaguars go for 2, and they end up winning this game 28-27 over the Ravens. I was wrong there. Cardinals were at the Chargers. Same thing. Chargers go for the 2-point conversion to put themselves up 25-24, and they end up winning that game. I was correct there. Raiders at the Seahawks. Josh Jacobs is still running, if I recall correctly. Raiders end up winning this game over the Seahawks 40-34 in overtime. I had the Seahawks winning, so I was wrong there. Rams were at the Chiefs. That defense made Bryce Perkins' day an absolute nightmare. They were all in the backfield, shut down the running game, forced 2 interceptions. Chiefs win 26-10. I had the Chiefs winning. Saints at 49ers. I had the 49ers winning. They won this game 13-0. This is the first time that the Saints have been shut out since I believe it was 2001 or 2002. So a streak that just kept on going. Congratulations to the Niners defense on getting the shutout. They also get the win again, 13-0. I was correct there. Sunday Night Football, we were wildly entertained. Eagles hosted the Packers. So Packers at Eagles. I had the Eagles winning, and they did win 40-33. Aaron Rodgers leaves with an injury. We'll see how that goes moving forward. And then just last night, Monday Night Football, Steelers at the Colts. I had the Colts winning with their home field. They end up losing 24-17. I was wrong there. Again, my NFL record this week was 10-6. Let's hit my predictions super quick of this week, and then we'll jump into our final segment, and I'll send you out of here and hope you have a great day. Thursday Night Football, Bills at Patriots. I've got the Bills winning this game. Steelers at Falcons. I've got the Falcons. Packers at Bears. I've got the Packers. Jaguars at Lions. I'm going to go with the Jaguars continuing that wave. Jets at Vikings. I like the Vikings, mainly because it's not in prime time. Commanders at Giants. I like the Giants to rebound from that tough loss to Dallas on Thanksgiving. Titans at Eagles. I've got the Titans. I think the defense is going to cause troubles for Jalen Hurts. I also like Derrick Henry's running ability against Philadelphia, and I've got the Titans giving the Eagles their second loss of the season. Broncos are at the Ravens. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just want to make mention. If this is a loss for the Broncos, it just makes a bad season worse just because you keep losing week after week after week. But it's also a lose. Like to me, whoever loses this game, it's almost, I almost want to think it's death of a season. And I say that because I think the Broncos, should they lose, it's just, okay, there's just another loss this season. I mean, it's practically already over. Not that if they win this game that, you know, their season's going to turn around, but I think obviously it's a moral victory. For the Ravens, I get that they're at the top of their division. I get that they're strong, and I get that they're a good football team. But if they lose the Broncos, I wonder if they will never recover. So I feel the loser of this game, they're just going to, just my opinion. But I do have the Ravens winning this game. Browns are at the Texans. I've got the Browns winning this game. Seahawks are at the Rams. I'm picking the Seahawks. I have been wrong almost every time I've picked them. I have been wrong in almost every prediction of theirs, whether I pick them to win or lose. So we'll see what happens. But sorry, guys. I'm going to stick with the Seahawks, and I'm picking the Seahawks to beat the Rams. Dolphins are at the 49ers. I like the 49er defense, and I like their offense to outdo the Dolphins. I've got the 49ers winning this game. Chiefs are at the Bengals. You can say that the Bengals are the Chiefs' kryptonite. I'm going to pick the Bengals, and I pick them because the Chiefs are currently on a 5-game win streak, and I just feel like this is the first of 3 road games, and I feel like it's the most difficult. They play at Cincinnati, and then they play, if I recall correctly, at Houston. Oh, it's at Denver. I was thinking it was at Houston. I believe they go at Bengals, at Broncos, at Seahawks. So, you know what? Let me confirm this for sure. I know, obviously, for sure, that the Chiefs play at the Bengals this week. They play at the Bengals, they play at the Broncos, and they play at the Texans. So, you know, this is the beginning of a, they host Seattle. I thought they were at Seattle. Sorry, that's been really messing with my brain. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so this is the first of a 3-game road trip, and I do believe that they will lose this game, and I think it's a good game to lose. Again, it's almost dangerous to go into the playoffs with such a long winning streak, and I feel like this is a great game to lose and then rebound on. Again, it's game 1 against a really good team. Jamar Chase is, I believe, expected to be back. I think he'll have a huge game, and I've got the Bengals beating the Chiefs again like they did last season in Cincinnati. So I've got the Bengals beating the Chiefs. Chargers are at the Raiders. I like the Chargers to pick up this game and win this game. Sunday Night Football, Colts are at the Cowboys. I've got the Cowboys winning this game. And then Monday Night Football, the Saints are at the Buccaneers. And I like Tom Brady and the Bucs to get this win. I know he's typically struggled against the Saints, and I know the Bucs have struggled against the Saints historically with Tom Brady, but I like the Bucs on Monday Night Football. Bye weeks for the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. So those are my predictions for the NFL. Thank you so much again for joining. Our concluding segments, Question and Connor, unfortunately didn't have a question again, so we will be skipping that section. Please, again, remember to comment, like, subscribe, and share. Again, mainly in this case, for Question and Connor, do not forget to comment and ask me a question. I'll review it on the air. So we'll conclude with Connor's question, and it goes back to what I was talking about with the college football playoff, because we're going to have this week of conference championship games, and then again, I don't remember when the selection show is. It could be Tuesday, if my math is right, Saturday is December 3rd, 4th is Sunday, 5th is Monday. I think it could be December 6th is the selection show for the college football playoff and the New Year's 6-day bowl games. So this may be the last episode that we have before the day of the college football playoff selection. So my question for you is, who do you believe is going to win each conference championship game that I reviewed? Tell me those. And B, who do you think, with their seedings, are going to be in the college football playoff? Thank you so much for joining. I did want to make mention also, I do have an NHL flag behind me, the New Jersey Devils. Again, unfortunately, I'm not very well versed in the NHL. And so when the Stanley Cup comes closer, when the playoffs pick up, I'll probably review that a little bit more and hopefully brush up. I won't talk about the NHL all that much, if at all, because again, it's just not one of the sports that I typically watch all the time. But I do love the Devils. I do love the Blackhawks as well. I do love hockey. It's wildly entertaining to watch the times that I do. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Again, hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving as we prepare for the Christmas season. Hope to continuously have you join me. Again, check out the link below in the description that will send you to my other podcast, the Babbling Bennion. Again, after the Iran match today, I will drop an episode of the Babbling Bennion, hopefully with great news and breaking down a prediction of the knockout stage. If not, we'll have plenty to talk about where the USA can go from this World Cup of 2022. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I have been your host, Mr. Unbiased Connor Bennion. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for tuning in. Again, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. Thank you again.